Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Balance and Breakthroughs with Will. I am your host, of course, Will. And I am here with another phenomenal guest because you guys know we talk about breakthroughs in life that may be breaking us. And every last one of my guests are exceptional individuals who have become real heroes in real life, dealing with real situations and stressors in life that don't always turn out the right way. So today I have Mark Steven Porro, born in New Jersey and now living in south of France, spent 28 years in Hollywood before his life turned completely upside down and he became a second parent again as he was taking care of his mother, and he wrote the book A Cup of Tea on the Commode. And this is why I wanted to talk to him because just the book title alone had me curious to see what was this man all about. So, if you have ever had stressors in dealing with loved ones that you truly love, but life has kind of flipped sideways, this is the episode for you. So just sit down, get a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and listen to the show. You are on live, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, except it's been exceptionally a rainy year so far. In the south of France, we're supposed to have 300 days of sunshine. So
Oh.
I was greatly misinformed. So uh, yeah, it's been the end of last year was terrible, and now so far this year. So today actually we had rain earlier. Now it's a little chilly, but no rain. So I'm not sure if it's a message to go ahead and build an ark or what, but I'm getting prepared just in case.
Yeah, well, it's not pretty here. Yeah, yes, the other day it was 80, and now it had dropped to 30, and we had snow.
Oh my
So
gosh,
yeah,
that's
yeah, it was crazy.
yeah. We don't go through those quite those extremes, but still, yeah. Anyway, I
So
live.
tell us about you.
I live in France, the
Hmm.
largest wine growing region in the world now.
Hmm.
So if you're into wine, it's heaven. If you're not, it's a frickin' nightmare. Luckily, I enjoy it, and the way of life here is lovely.
Okay.
And in this room that you see behind me, if people are seeing this, this is where I wrote the book. Because when my mother passed, I needed some emotional, I guess, and physical distance before I could sit down and write it.
Hmm.
During I call it our 3.5 year journey, I took a lot of notes and shot photos and videos and stuff so I wouldn't forget too much. And I also had no intention of writing a book at first. I was there to care for my mom,
Hmm.
but I was privy to some really interesting conversations and visions that my mother had because she was suffering from a little bit of dementia, and some really special moments that I didn't want my siblings to miss out on. So I just started recording things. Writing, it was kind of second nature to me.
Hmm.
That was from some of my experience in Hollywood. And so I took a lot of notes and stuff. And then I shared what I was learning and experiencing with my mom, with a friend who was going through something similar with one of her parents, and she got some benefit out of it. So I said,
Hmm.
I think I got something here that could be valuable to other people. And so then instead of my first instinct is to make it a movie,
Hmm.
and but when she benefited from what I had to share, I thought certainly a quicker way and a more sure way of getting my message out would be through a book.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and luckily, I found a publisher who it resonated with, and yeah, so it's what's been lovely is the it has resonated with a lot of people around the world, and now it's going to be published in China and Taiwan and South Korea so far. So yeah, it's pretty cool. You never know, but I call it a universal, timely, and timeless message.
It
And
is. It is from what you're telling me. Because I think our elders, our parents are a precious commodity that I don't think we show as much compassion to as we should,
Right.
you
Or hold
know.
them in the high esteem
Yes,
where they should be.
yes.
Yeah.
I actually, my other job is I work as a social worker in a nursing home rehab, and I get the opportunity to work with a lot of elderly, and just bringing a smile and my sense of humor, they appreciate because they don't get that a lot,
Right.
and it's really sad, and so, it just, your book, just really inspired me. But what were you doing before? You got the call to take care of your mother, or well, paint the picture of how this all occurred.
Okay. Well, I was living the carefree bachelor life in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I was acting for many years, but I was in my mid 50s at the time. So my career was on the wane. But I had a snack food company that I started with my brother to honor my dad. He passed years earlier, but he invented this great snack. He called Nutrinut, so we had to rename it Grandpa Poe's Originals, which
Hmm.
was the original half popped popcorn snack. And so I built a factory and we built this business and it became a national brand. It was on the Rachel Ray show as the snack of the day. And Grandpa Poe's Originals was a pretty cool product that no longer exists now. I did it for about 15 or so years. And so I was in the, I guess most of my time was spent with the snack food company when I got the call from my brother about my mom. So she was living in the house we all grew up in, and she just turned 89. And we had some people living in the house that were kind of overseeing household duties and doing the shopping and the cooking for her, but she could still pretty much take care of herself. But 9 days after her 89th birthday, she just shut down,
Hmm.
and I thought she was kind of willing herself to die. I think she looked around and said, "Boy, if this is my life, I'm done with it." She was not happy. She did suffer from some depression throughout my life, but she hid that very well. But in her later years, more and more started coming out, and she became a grumpy old woman. I said she became an Archie Bunker, because as the years go, our filters seem to
Yeah.
fade.
Now you
And
just
hers,
dated yourself because only like me and you probably know who Archie Bunker is.
well, hopefully some of your listeners. uh, so, but she was still very funny. Both of my parents are really fun people to be around, and so we all came home. There were six of us, and we thought she was on her deathbed. And by the time I arrived, hospice was there. Her doctor cut off all meds and all food and said she's transitioning. Let her go. And
Wow.
so my younger sister and I hung out with hospice, and they were very generous. We said we wanted to learn how to take care of our mother as much as possible for as long as she wanted to be here. So we
Hmm.
jumped in hands on, and they taught us a lot of tips and tricks. We had to deal with bed sores, and we had to learn how to change the diaper with the helpless patient lying in bed, also change the bedding, and and that was it. And then several weeks later, she snapped out of it, and part of that was a rebel. I call her a rebel nurse. Um, Jumped in and didn't follow the rules. That was the directive from her supervisor, because they said no meds, no food, even no water, just to moisten her lips for comfort, and that was it. But this lady came in, she looked at the directive and walked right into my mother's room and said, "Mrs. Porro, are you hungry?" And my mother's eyes opened up like a dinner bell went off. And it was like, because before that, it was probably 3 weeks. She didn't, she barely opened her eyes. She never spoke a word. She barely responded to anything except touch, a little bit with touch. But her eyes were wide open now. So this lady accused us of trying to starve her mother to death, which we found out
Wow.
that some people do.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Okay.
want, again, they don't respect or they don't love their loved ones
Hmm.
as they should, and so they want to expedite the demise. So, but we were very angered with her, so we said, "Call your supervisor because you broke the rules." And her supervisor said, "Leave. We're going to send another nurse in." But in the meantime, I'm thinking, since my mother's eyes were wide awake, I was like, "Oh boy, maybe we are starving my mother to death."
Right, right.
And the original assessment from hospice was incorrect. I went in and I looked at my mother and said, "Mom, are you hungry?" And she spoke for the first word for the first time in 3 weeks. She says, "What do you got?" And I said, "Well, anything you want."
Right.
And she says, "Well," and now at this point it's March. And she
Mhm.
goes, "How about some pumpkin pie?" And I said, "Well, it's not actually pumpkin pie season, but let me see." And so I went out in the living room. My brother, who lived locally, was there. And I said, "You want to take this on and see if you can go find some pumpkin pies?" He came back within about 30 minutes with two fresh pumpkin pies. I don't
Wow.
have any idea where he found them, if he baked them himself or what, but it was a bit of a miracle.
Hmm.
And so I gave a spoonful to mom and she spit it out. And I said, "Well, that didn't go so well, but it was her first food in weeks. So it
Yeah.
was understandable." So I tried again. The second spoonful went down and she ended up eating at least half the pie. And
Wow.
she was back. She was wide awake. The color was back in her face, and it was great. And I said, "Wow, this is a stinking miracle." So the next day, she ate the other half of the pumpkin pie, and then the next day, I believe she ate the entire pumpkin pie.
Okay.
And mom was back, and that was great. But hospice stayed on because at least in New Jersey, they when they're called, they stay on for at least 6 months.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
normally a patient doesn't end up lasting that long.
Right.
But like this rebel nurse, she looked at mom and said she's not ready to die, and so she, as well as I think another nurse later on, they used common sense instead of what the doctor said. They look and they know because they're on the front lines.
Hmm.
And you know too from your experience too, you
Hmm.
kind of get an idea. If nothing else, people who want to live. And so once my mom woke up at the pumpkin pie, I think she um, sensed that love was back in her house. I think that was part of the thing because she didn't get along with these people who were living in the house.
Mm.
And when I visited, I would notice some of the tension, but I never knew how bad it was. But mom was a tough cookie. I said she had a very accurate BS detector.
Hmm.
And if
Hmm.
that thing went off, it was tough to get her back. And it redlined with these people early on. And so they had some difficulties. And so I was back, and then my siblings started going home, and I stayed for a number of weeks when I felt that she was really on the mend, and then kept in touch with her when I was back in LA because I knew hospice was going to be on for at least a couple of more months.
Hmm.
And then I came back in September of that year, and she had a grandson that was getting married at the Jersey Shore. So I took care of her again for a couple of weeks, and I was the youngest son. I had two older sisters, two older brothers, and one younger sister. But I learned a lot from growing up with sisters, and I knew how to take care of hair, and I knew how to doll
Hmm.
them up, and
Hmm.
and it was a lovely experience. And so I used that maybe a bit of a romantic approach with mom. So I loved getting her fixed up and giving her some makeup. She had no makeup, so at least lipstick. And her nails were like the crown jewels. She had beautiful natural nails. She was a nail model in her late teens and early 20s. And so those things
Wow.
were precious. And so I took care of all those things and got her dolled up for the wedding. And she was the belle of the ball. And it was great. She couldn't walk at that point. We had a wheelchair for her, but we
Hmm.
got her all dressed up in her favorite outfit,
Hmm.
and she just went nuts. It was lovely. And so at that point, I felt that she definitely deserved better care, and I felt like at that point I was the guy to do it, and I had to step up because a lot of it at that point was on my brother's shoulders. He would visit her every day, morning and night, took care of all the finances, the ordering meds, and all that kind of stuff. So I felt I needed to take some of the weight off his shoulders, but also I thought I was the best at caring for mom, and her response to me was very good. And I asked her actually for permission. I said, "You want me to come and do this full time?"
Hmm.
And she said, "Yes." And then we had an interesting thing with mom. So I said, "So if I do this, two things. First of all, we're going to have fun.
Hmm.
Second of all, that means I'm in charge,
Hmm.
and you must now obey me." and her mood completely changed. But
Yeah, I bet.
she puckered up for a kiss, and I wasn't sure if that was a sign of surrender or one wishing me luck. But I gave her a kiss and hoped for the best, and it turned out pretty well.
Hmm.
Again, it was I never had any children. I wasn't married, so this was my first kid.
Hmm.
And at this point, uh, when I moved in full time, she was just turning 90. So I said my first kid was a 90-year-old, stubborn, guilt tripping, sharp tongued old lady who could barely remember my name. And that was my mother. So
What was, were there any stumbling blocks as far as, transitioning from you being the bachelor to you being the full-time caretaker that you didn't anticipate? Just for those viewers who are considering doing this.
yeah. Well, I have a motto that some people think is corny, but I have had a pretty adventurous life, and I've made some. Most of them have been good decisions, but I've done some things like moving to France without knowing the language. I
Hmm.
just felt really at home when I first visited this village.
Hmm.
5 days after being here, I said, "This is going to be my home," and two
Wow.
years later, I moved here. Um, so my motto is find the joy. So I
Hmm.
lead with that. So
Hmm.
I didn't know, again, I had never been a parent. I had apparently some commitment issues being a bachelor in my 50s. Um, and I thought I had a grasp of unconditional love, but really didn't until I
Hmm.
took this on. And
Hmm.
so a lot of it was unexpected, but my goal was to be there and treat her like royalty,
Hmm.
to make her laugh at least once a day, and and do the best I can. So my acting experience, and at that point, my degree in college was industrial design. So I had a
Hmm.
design degree, so I learned about empathy and how to deal with the end user of your product. And so you
Hmm.
have to put yourself in their shoes.
Hmm.
That certainly came in handy in acting as well, empathy. But also, I didn't want my mother to feel any of my discomfort, or that it was any kind of a burden. So I left those emotions out of the room. I said, listen, I'm taking on the role of caregiver, and that's what I'm playing. So I got to go in 100% and do that. And
Hmm.
I didn't want mom to feel guilty or to feel like she was a burden or anything like that. So
Hmm.
I kept the smile, and there were no lines that we did not cross because I was her caregiver and her life was
Right.
literally in my hands. So we had to do some very uncomfortable things for the both of us. I mean, um, uh, not to get too graphic, but I'm wiping her butt
Hmm.
several times a day, and I'm seeing her naked for the first time,
Hmm.
and seeing what the years have done to her, and gravity is not kind.
Right.
and but again, it's my mother, but at that point she was my patient. So
Hmm.
I had to get over that and get on with it because I had a job to do.
Well, it sounds like you were great at separating your personal intimate, feelings from the job you had to do.
Yeah, that's a
How,
lot more. A lot of the acting experience helped, kicked in at that point.
okay, okay. How was it for your mother? Could she make the separation between you being the boss, the caretaker, from you also being her son, who she used to wipe your behind?
Right. I would say she didn't have any difficulty with any of that stuff, except perhaps me being the boss.
Right, right,
She
right.
was still very good at guilt tripping and stuff, but no, she was, um, yeah, she was like fine, whatever.
Oh, okay.
She had no, because I did it all with very, tender, loving care. I was
Hmm.
very good
Hmm.
about it, and no, yeah, I was. I'm not sure if I was totally surprised or not, but she was like, her dignity was out that was gone a long time ago. So she was
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, do whatever you got to do. But we had a lot of fun
Hmm.
with it. At one point, she I just finished, and it's quite a process getting her ready in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
cleaned up. I gave her
Mm-hmm.
sponge baths in morning and at night.
Mm-hmm.
And so at nighttime, we visit the commode. I take care of the business. I give her a sponge bath and then a body lotion and dealt with any medical issues and stuff. And then I'm just about to secure her diaper, and she starts peeing on me.
Mm.
And it's like, that's cute with a baby and a new parent, but
Right.
not with a 90-year-old mother peeing on you. And after about, 45 minutes of getting things ready, so I said, "Oh, Mom, why now?" And she looks at me, she says, "It's natural." And so I'm like, if she's okay with it, I got to be okay with it too.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where the humor really comes in, because there were some, other moments when I'm working on the no-fly zone and she lets out a fart,
Right.
and
Right.
same kind of thing. And I go, "Not nice." She goes, "Sorry," and it's like, again, it's natural. So we had moments like that. There was another one that's interesting with her dementia. Again, the dementia could be scary, but
Yeah.
we, at least I approached it with humor. Out of all the kids, I'm the only one whose name she couldn't remember early on. And I'm the one taking care of her 24/7 and
Mm-hmm.
wiping her butt and stuff like that. So one morning I go in and she looks at me and she says, "Now, what is it I call you?" And I said, "You're kidding, right?" She goes, "No." I said, "Name your children." She goes, "Laurel, Michael, Carol, David, DC." And completely stumped. I said, "Come on." I said, "I'm Mark." She goes, "Oh, Mark." "Mark with a K?" I said, "Yes, you named me." And I said, "I'm your favorite son." She goes, "But I don't have a favorite." And I said, "Well, you have a favorite to forget." Now, I could have taken that personally,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I said, no, she's not quite
Mm-hmm.
100%. So that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. So
Mm-hmm.
what I did is I wrote my name in big letters
Mm-hmm.
and taped it to the ceiling
Mm-hmm.
as a visual aid, because when I would greet her in the morning, she'd be lying in bed. So I would say, "Good morning," and she would look up to the ceiling for the visual aid
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
"Good morning, Mark." And so we did this for a few weeks, and
Okay.
then she was fine.
Okay.
But again, it's your mom. She still loves you. You
Mm-hmm.
you think, you hope, and so you can't take those things personally. You kind of roll with the punches.
So what kind of characteristics do you think a person needs to have if they want to embark on this journey of parenting their parent? I mean,
Yeah.
what kind of attitude do they need?
Well, I would say you definitely need to be open for all possibilities. And
Okay.
if you can find the joy in it, it's interesting. So we had six siblings. I might have been the only one to totally find joy in it. My oldest sister, who hopefully won't listen to this, but she knows because I think I depict it in the book.
Hmm.
She was probably the most religious of the kids.
Hmm. Hmm.
She found no joy in caring for my mother.
Mm.
No, she didn't. She did it as a dutiful daughter, but there
Hmm.
was no love. And she was amazed that I could find
Yeah.
uh, joy in it. And she said, "That's a gift from God." And I said, "Well, why hasn't God given you that gift?" I,
Right.
I didn't understand it, but she filled in for me because I had to go back to LA every few months and take care of the snack business. And she
Hmm.
also lived in California, so she would come back but she said she had a 7-day limit before
Hmm.
her top. She would blow her top with
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it may have been a thing with being the oldest daughter with the mother. I think my mother was always a little uh, uh, more, let's say, critical of the girls
Mm.
than the boys, and then
Hmm.
maybe my father was the opposite
Hmm.
with the boys. So, but I that didn't affect what I did,
Right.
and my sister, who didn't find that joy, really appreciated what I did and what I wrote in the book, and but so I would say anybody taking this on, if you are uncomfortable with any of it, if you can't keep those emotions out of the room,
Hmm.
don't do it.
Hmm.
It's important to be there and show your loved one that you do care.
Yeah.
Uh, but sometimes just being present is enough.
Hmm.
So if you
Hmm.
can find, and it's difficult, if you can find a pro who is good and you trust, do that.
Hmm.
Because you don't want your loved one to feel like they're a burden
Yeah.
or guilty, because that may that may I guess speed up their willingness to go.
Yeah.
And so you want to let them know. Hopefully, you have a good relationship, that you love them. You want them to stick around, and and some of the I think the precious moments I had with mom was, we just sat there at let's say at the kitchen table, and she had maybe her cup of tea, and we just held hands in
Hmm.
silence. No
Hmm.
words were needed,
Hmm.
there was a lot of love being passed, through those hands,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah. Yeah.
and those were really special times. Also, I learned a number of things. I think that we became that kind of became rituals for us. So it's very difficult for someone in that condition, and I'm sure you've dealt with this as well. For hugs, it's
Yeah.
difficult to hug somebody, give a good hug, especially when they're lying in bed, or they
Hmm.
may be a little too fragile where the hug actually hurts. And so
Hmm. Hmm.
when I would get mom ready for, let's say, breakfast, sponge bath and a new wardrobe, and before I stood her up to put her in the wheelchair, I'd say morning hug, and we
Right.
hugged each other, and it was beautiful because neither one of us wanted to let go, and it was just a lovely moment,
Hmm.
and so that, along with the title of the book, came out of one of those rituals.
Hmm.
Um, Her time on the commode, sometimes Mother Nature took a little longer than was comfortable for either one of us. And so one day, kind of as a joke, I said, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea while we're waiting?" And and she said, "Sure." And so hot tea, skim milk, no sugar was her favorite beverage. So I made her a cup of hot tea, and served it on the commode, and it was a hit. So we made that part of our morning ritual. And so it was a practical thing that ended up being a very special moment for us, and also, I guess, a catchy title for the book.
It's interesting because you had the talent to create fun moments out of something that would normally be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that
go ahead.
that came from my parents and
Okay.
my upbringing. Both of my parents were funny people, and they seemed to make the best out of a bad situation.
Hmm.
They were just funny, and then my brothers and sisters all are a little bit wacky as well, and so humor was a big part of our upbringing.
Hmm.
And then for me, it comes kind of second nature. And I did some stand up in LA, and I write jokes, and I try to write, when I do screenplays and things like that. Humor is always part of it, whether it's a drama or not. Humor will help you get through a lot of things in life,
Hmm. Hmm.
and so I lean on that quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a full advocate of humor. I use it in my work, my counseling, because it's a great tension breaker.
Yeah,
Just to get people to just relax and, okay, it's a rough time, but it's not that serious. We can still smile through this, and it's powerful mojo.
yeah,
Um, were there times that you couldn't laugh? And what did you do during those times?
yeah. Wine, red wine, plenty
Okay.
of it. Uh, it wasn't all roses, and so again, my mother could be very stubborn, and she did get very depressed in moments where she just
Mm,
shut down.
hmm.
Here's one of the times I wasn't too proud of, but um, again, this is when my mother stepped up and became, I guess, taught me a really nice lesson. So I'm doing all the cooking and the
Hmm.
cleaning
Hmm.
and the shopping and all this business. And people say I gave up my life. I didn't really give up my life, but at least gave up my bachelor life at the time. And so I would make her nice, healthy meals. And so I cooked a beautiful dinner this one night, and she's sitting at the table, and she just shut down. And I said, "Mom, you gotta eat. You gotta keep up your strength.
Hmm.
So you gotta eat." And nothing. She was just zoning out. And I said, "Mom, you have to eat. And again, no response. So I said, listen, I gave up my life. I did this, I do this, I do this, and this, and this. You've got to show some appreciation and eat your dinner, please. And again, nothing. So I got angry and I flicked off the kitchen lights, so left her in the dark. And then I went downstairs to do some laundry, and I
Mhm.
took out my anger on I guess an innocent washing machine, and so I stuffed it and threw the laundry detergent in, slammed down the lid, and then tried to chill out a little bit before I went up for round two. And so I come back upstairs and I flick on the kitchen light, and my mother is sitting again, still at the table, and her utensils are laying on a clean plate, and her hands are folded in her lap. She ate her entire meal in the dark, and that's not easy for anybody to do.
Yeah.
But she did it, and so I say she out guilt tripped me. And so it was a beautiful lesson because she could have been angry or stayed stubborn, but she got the message
Mm,
that I tried to convey, maybe not in the nicest way, but it did work.
mm,
And she ate her meal, and I just leaned down and gave her a kiss and said thank you, and that
mm,
was it. We never talked about it.
mm.
So those are moments where she taught me how to be, I guess, a better parent.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so there were certainly a few moments like that. And so again, for me, I didn't really have a good grasp of unconditional love, but you learn it in those moments,
Hmm.
no matter
Hmm.
how tough this gets, because it's physically, emotionally, and mentally very difficult.
Yeah.
Uh, but you're in it. I said
Mm-hmm.
I may have had commitment issues with women and stuff, but I'm committed to this, and so there
Hmm.
was going to be no stepping back until mom decided to leave this earth.
Hmm.
And so um, yeah, so that was a very important lesson for me. And then also patience. You have to learn
Yeah.
patience because they're still your loved one, but they're not 100%. They're not
Hmm.
physically. They're weaker and slower, and
Hmm. Hmm.
their memory may not be sharp. And but you got to again have the empathy. You got to put yourself in their shoes and just chill. I
Hmm.
learned that actually. I took my dad to Italy in 1995. He was 80 and he was suffering from heart disease,
Hmm.
and he passed 2 years later. So it was pretty advanced at this point. But he wanted to go. I wanted to take him to the village where his father came from 100 years earlier, and nobody
Hmm.
had been back there. And he was very willing to do this. And when we got to Rome, um, he would have to consider every curb before he could step up. And those little things we take, for granted. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is not a fun and games trip. This is
Hmm.
literally, again, another life in my hands in a foreign country. I didn't
Hmm.
know the language. And it was my first time in Europe and his as well. And it was like, okay, so we're going to slow down. And I wanted to make him feel okay about this. So I said,
Hmm.
listen, because he was apologizing. He felt terrible. I said, no, no, no. This is your trip. We're
Right.
going at your pace.
Hmm.
So we're going to slow down and we'll see a lot more things this way.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so don't worry about it. And that was the beginning. And we spent 16 days together. It was great. Unfortunately, a lot of things we did see were buses leaving us, taxis leaving us, trains leaving us, but we saw a lot of things.
Right, right,
But it
right.
worked out. It was a great trip, and that was like that might have been my first caregiving
Hmm.
job without really knowing. But
Hmm.
I did sit there and say, okay, listen, yeah, this guy's life is in my hands, so I've got to
Hmm.
be careful.
So, working with a lot of people who are in your situation, being the caretakers, I've often done trainings and seminars on care for the caretakers. How did you take care of yourself while you were taking care of your mom full time?
Yeah. Well, the pros say you got to take breaks.
Hmm.
You really do have to take care of yourself because you need to be in good shape to not only take on this job but to maintain
Hmm.
the job. And I did listen to the pros. And my mother, A couple years in, actually, my mother almost outlived me because I didn't listen. And stress, I guess, I thought I handled it well. While I was there, I always kept in good shape, but while I was there, I also renovated her house.
Hmm.
And I built a man cave in the basement and had a rowing machine and weights and
Hmm.
stuff because I knew I needed stress relief. Well,
Hmm.
I didn't, I guess, use it enough. And so I had to go through three emergency surgeries over time. Um, and uh,
Wow.
and the doctors said, yeah, it's probably stress related.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm a guy, I can handle this. I don't need to worry about this. And
Of
then
course, that's
boom.
what we do as men.
Yeah, yeah. So a tip, take the breaks. And then after I went through those surgeries, I could no longer do the heavy lifting. So we had a pro come in,
Hmm.
and she was wonderful. Marina was, I said, my savior from El Salvador. She
Hmm.
was just fantastic, but she was a pro. She always took Sundays off. She
Yeah.
had her own apartment. She stayed at our house 6 nights a week.
Hmm.
But Sunday, she stayed at her own apartment and did her own thing.
Hmm.
And because she was a pro, and so she knew what to do. And so I would say, yeah, there's a reason why on airplanes they say put your oxygen mask on first.
Yes. Yes, there
And
is.
it's a very that was well, almost a deadly lesson for Mark. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
but that's one of the things I certainly share with everybody.
What do you think are some of the common misconceptions when families want to take care of their loved one that they underestimate?
Well, a couple of the lessons that I learned early on, and again, this might have been my romantic approach to it, that wanting to feel pretty does not fade with age. And even with my sisters taking care of my mom, I felt that they didn't really make her feel pretty and stuff. So
Hmm.
I knew my mother worked full time. She was a proofreader for the largest newspaper in New Jersey, and she had 6 kids.
Hmm. Hmm.
But she treated herself to a weekly visit to the beauty parlor where she got a shampoo and set and had her
Hmm.
nails done. And I don't know when the last time she visited a beauty parlor, but when she visited me in LA, I always took her to my friend's beauty salon in
Hmm.
Beverly Hills. And she got the movie star treatment. And I knew she and actually got to sit in Betty White's chair because my friend
Okay.
Stan did Betty White was one of his long clients, and so I created what I called the Day of Beauty back
Hmm.
home.
Hmm.
And so normally, again, she got her sponge baths day and night. But while she was sitting on the commode on Day of Beauty, I also soaked her feet in Epsom salts. I shampooed her hair and conditioned it, and then gave her a full body massage. And then I did her uh, oh, another thing I did, I think the first thing I did to return some dignity to her.
Hmm.
You want to make anybody cheer up, boy. I bought her a new wardrobe.
Wow.
She wore these day dresses that were just kind of drab
Hmm.
and maybe tattered at this point, and nobody
Hmm.
thought she was leaving the house. So I don't care if she's leaving the house or not. She
Right.
wants to feel pretty. Let's get some good clothes. So I bought her a new wardrobe that was just another big hit.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
with Day of Beauty, after the sponge bath and a new diaper and stuff, and she got her uh, picked out her new wardrobe, and then I blow dried her hair and put her in the wheelchair, and then put it in a ponytail. Or again, living with sisters, I could braid it for bonus points. Once in a while, she got a braid, and then I did her nails, and then I finished it off with a little lipstick to match the nails.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that much of it. I said, this is a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
No big deal. And as I'm wheeling her into the kitchen for breakfast, we pass a big mirror in the dining room.
Hmm.
And so I park her in front of that mirror and I lean in and I say, who is that pretty girl? And she just beamed. And it was just, you know, it was a profound moment, and it probably affected me more than her, but she just really liked what she saw. And
Yeah.
again, I don't know when the last time she looked in the mirror,
Hmm.
but when's the last time she looked in the mirror and liked what she saw? And that day she saw something very special. So I parked her in front of that mirror every day and
Mm.
just said, "Who is that pretty girl?" And again, she loved to feel pretty, and I loved making her feel pretty. And the effect was it just permeated because everybody who saw her saw how happy
Hmm.
she was,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she looked good, she felt good, and it was great. So those are these little things again that we take for granted.
Hmm.
Whether
Hmm.
you can give them a hug, feel special in some way. If makeup and hair doesn't do it, find something else that
Hmm.
they really enjoyed. So those, again, those were things that made me want to do more.
Yeah.
How can I not only make her laugh every day, but how can I make her feel special? So
Hmm.
you're always coming up, if you're, especially if you're creative, which I'm kind of a creative guy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Say,
Hmm.
okay, what can I do today to make this whole thing special for her?
Yeah, that's amazing, because not only did you give her compassion, but you also treated her like the unique, incredible woman she was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of elderly are treated, how do I put it? Because they're past the hump and they're close to death's door, they forget they still need reasons to live,
Yeah.
and then that is so powerful what you were doing, that I can only imagine how she smiled every time she looked in the mirror,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and and for men as well. 2 days before my dad passed, I'm working
Hmm.
on a book that's now focusing more on my dad. So all this is very fresh. But
Hmm.
2 days before he passed, my dad was always clean shaven, and he carried a comb in his wallet. Always
Hmm.
had his hair combed,
Hmm.
and uh, I knew he wanted to look his best when he met Jesus.
Hmm.
And so 2 days before he passed, we asked him if he wanted a clean shave. And so my younger sister and I gave him a shave, and he was so happy. And then we combed his hair, and same kind of response. It was like, oh yeah, these kids
Hmm.
care about me, and I certainly care about how I want to see
Yeah.
Jesus. And
Hmm.
it was again a lovely moment. So this is for men and for women. They want to
Hmm.
feel special. They want to feel handsome. They want to feel pretty, and
Hmm.
and that doesn't leave. It's just like we yearn for love, and we yearn for connection. That doesn't leave us as the
Hmm.
years go on and stuff like that. So those, unfortunately, are some of the things that we take for granted, and
Hmm.
I don't know. So I'm hoping that with my story, it will get people back to the way it should be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now you wrote the book. What was your idea or expectation for the book when you wrote it? And where did
Well,
it go?
originally it was again just to record these things because for my family.
Hmm.
I have a lot of family, I guess, traditions that I've kind of started. So one of them was a memory book
Hmm.
that came out of something. There'll be more of that in Dad's book. But that started with my dad. I didn't know what to give him for his 75th birthday.
Hmm.
He was not a guy that needed stuff or wanted things. And so I said, I'm going to give him 75 memories. And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to come up with that? But once I opened that door, I went chronological. I had to edit them down to 75. They just flooded.
Wow.
They flooded. And it was just a letter with these
Hmm.
75 memories. And it was he got such a kick out of it, even
Hmm.
though some of them were not, he called them pithy.
Yeah.
He was not happy with all of them, but they were really important memories for our relationship.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and it was a big hit. So those things evolved as anybody hit a big birthday into some major design projects that I did with photographs, and I had other people start to pitch in memories. And so when I did things for my aunts when they turned 80, I had cousins I don't even know that we reached. And so
Hmm.
she got memories from distant cousins, and they may not have been distant for her, but they're people I never knew. But everybody was willing to pitch in, and they became very special projects.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so I think keeping track of family and family history was kind of second nature to me.
Hmm.
Um, So I never wrote a book. I wrote a lot of screenplays and jokes and scenes and things like that. So I knew it was going to be memoir. And so I started studying the genre while I was over here in France because
Hmm. Hmm.
I needed some separation because I get very emotional, especially when it comes to family.
Yeah.
And so I started studying online with a memoir teacher, and and then wrote it. And I needed help with the structure because I knew if you just write it chronologically, again, it was a 3.5 year span. It's
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
that exciting for you. It was not a diary or a journal. So I added a lot of backstory and
Hmm.
childhood memories and some really interesting scenes that I went through in our life, our family life, and also especially
Hmm.
with mom, that helped, let's say, justify why I took the actions I did. Because the
Hmm.
way I was raised, this was the right thing to do to take on this job. So, um, this memoir teacher was very good with that. And then
Hmm.
when I felt it was in pretty good shape, I started looking because I wanted to be published. What I
Hmm.
wanted to do was self-publishing. I found two publishers that were interested in it, which was great. So I'm at that point in my 60s, and I got
Hmm.
a book that was going to be published. And so, I worked with one publisher was more interested in quality, and it was going to be a year and a half or two before we had the book out. The other guy, the publisher, was great, but a little too smooth, and wanted to put this book out, by Christmas. And
Right,
I said,
right.
I'm going with quality. And the book came out on Mother's Day. Wow, almost 3 years ago now, and
Hmm.
it was great. Again, you put your heart and soul into something, you have no idea if it's going
Yeah.
to touch other people,
Hmm.
and it's been tremendous. The reaction's been lovely. It's won a bunch of literary awards, which are really nice. But the personal notes I've received from people are just amazing.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet.
I mean, raw. Some of them are just raw and open and honest and lovely. So the
Hmm.
awards are nice. Some even came with money, and but those personal notes are lovely, and
Hmm.
I've reconnected, uh, especially through Facebook, with a lot of people from my hometown. I haven't been in touch with for over 50 years, and through I've been pretty heavy duty marketing, but through those efforts in social media and stuff, I've gotten in touch with a lot of them, and they've shared stories because they knew my family, they knew
Hmm.
my siblings, and some of them knew my parents very well. And it's just lovely to hear these stories from them,
Hmm.
and knowing that the impact my parents had on some certain people that I didn't wasn't aware that they were that close to my folks, but it's just lovely. And so my mom is still resonating with people, and it's lovely to know that.
Yeah. So I'm surprised you haven't been asked to speak anywhere on just the compassionate care, the unique creative compassionate care that you have developed with your mother. And even
Well,
wrote a book about it. I mean,
well, I'm
yeah.
speaking here. I've done a lot of interviews, a lot of podcasts. Is this not speaking, Will? No, you mean do a TED talk? Yes,
Yeah.
I've tried to do it. I would love
Yeah.
to do a TED talk. Part of it is living in France. I have done a book reading here in France,
Hmm.
and actually a couple of presentations. And then I did a virtual author visit with the public library from my hometown,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
was funny because they waived any late, library fees that I may have had as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, yes, so yeah, let's put that out there. I'll do a TED talk. I did actually contact the TED people,
Hmm.
because again, I think it's a unique approach, and it's certainly
It's an incredible
uh,
approach.
yeah. So yeah, we keep plugging away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well.
eventually they're gonna bend on the knee and say, yes, please come see us.
Well, man, I appreciate you being on the show. Just your approach to loving our loved ones is a breath of fresh air that I truly believe our society needs more of. And if this resonated with anybody listening or watching the show, how could they find you? How do they reach out to you?
Well, they got to come to the south of France, and
Okay, no problem.
yeah,
I'll get on a
if
plane.
if they Google a cup of tea on the Commode, we're everywhere. So the website is a cup of tea on the commode.org.
Okay.
The YouTube channel is a cup of tea on the Commode. Facebook, a cup of tea on the Commode. The email, if they want to email me, is a cup of tea on the Commode at
hmm hmm
gmail.com. We have a TikTok channel. The YouTube channel has about 170 something short, funny, most of them are funny videos,
Okay. Okay.
which are quite entertaining. And then there's Pinterest and Blue Sky and Instagram and all that stuff
So you
too.
are all over social media. I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then the book, of course, is on Amazon. It comes in paperback, large print paperback,
Mm-hmm.
ebook, and also I did the audio book.
hmm
I'll tell you an interesting story with the audiobook. So, even with all my acting experience, I could not record this audiobook without bawling.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
bet.
even in some of the non-emotional stories and chapters, I would just all of a sudden just, what are we doing? I'm talking about spaghetti. How could this be funny? And it took me a number of months after the book was released, and I set up a studio here in France and recorded the book. And
hmm
in that time, I had I got to revisit the book with fresh eyes.
mm
And during that, I had a revelation that was very interesting. So, if you listened or read the book or listen to my story, it sounds like
hmm
I went home to rescue my mother,
Yeah.
which in a sense I did.
hmm
Uh, but upon reflection in those that time period that I have, I think that maybe mom rescued me. And I came up with that because I think that, at that point in my life, I did a lot of good things,
Yeah.
maybe some bad things too, but I never did anything all that important.
Mm.
Not having children, not having a wife or anything like that. And this, whether my mother was conscious or unconsciously, gave me this opportunity to do something very special.
Something
And,
significant.
and I was smart enough to jump on it.
hmm
And so I
hmm
thank her every day for that because it
mm
was not only very important and meaningful to me, but as we're finding out, more and more people are getting something out of it. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And
That's very cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
so thanks, Mom.
Yeah. So once again, man, just thank you. Thank you for everything you've done, the book, your attitude. It has definitely changed you into a better man. And I think you were a good man before this, but this definitely made you extraordinary, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I would a better man, I'd say. I don't know about extraordinary, but yeah, again, the way I was brought up, this was not for me not a big deal. It was the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But in our
Yes,
world today, not everybody's doing the right thing,
right.
you know. And
Yeah.
and what makes it extraordinary is it's the right thing and it's natural. It's
Yes.
yeah. See?
To quote to quote Mom.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
You like that. Okay.
yeah.
So if you loved this show, please like, subscribe, and share this with a loved one because this one was a really good show. This was a really powerful show. And it is about balancing breakthroughs. And this is another breakthrough that you can have with your family today. Get the book, go to the website, and man, we could all be a little extraordinary today with some compassion, some creativity, and just a little bit more love. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Will.
See you
Thank
guys
you.
again next week for another episode. Love you guys. Peace.